Alright, what's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company. Today is the 19th of August, 2026. This is a video under the main side of In the Image Clothing Company, one of the four sides to us, where our slogan is allowing the body to work. Wind noise, if and where there is, surrounding sounds, blunt, bold, raw, and real, In the Image Clothing Company style. This video's title, and I'm going to say some things. We'll do a little intro here as we do. The plantar flexion, golly. Plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. Let me give some context on these boots. These are not ideal for the feet, but they're good to show what I'm showing in this video, and there's times and places for things that otherwise aren't most ideal, right? In general anyway. So, In the Image Clothing Company's main side slogan here, allowing the body to work. We're really only a clothing company to get to the functionality of the human being. Clothing's just the literal word of anything physically placed onto, first off, anything at all. The way that God clothes the fields with grass, as it says in the Holy Bible. But there truly is only one way the human body could ever work. It's just measurable mathematical degrees of hinges, levers, and rotations, just determined by the shape and length of our bones. They grow by themselves, but within this universal human design. So, clothing the body with anything: hats, gloves, pants, shoes, socks, tops, undergarments, jewelry, a bag over the shoulder, a blanket over your shoulders. Well, there's always a neutral position to the entire human being, with two sides opposing the neutral, pulling to stabilize us in the neutral position. To the entire body, there's always a neutral position, and there's no possible opinion to it. You can measure it mathematically. So, the thing is, you place clothing onto the body, or you literally clothe the body of the human being with anything, and it can change how the body works. The body can get into chronic patterning, where bone spurs and scar tissue build up in the body. Let's wait for this guy. I'm here at the park he works at, so really I'm the one that's more out of place here, if you will, location-wise. The 19th of August, 2026. This video's title, under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here, plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. So let's talk about it because, yeah, there's a lot of things that'll get us into imbalances in the body. Fairly universal clothing imbalances are shipped across the entire earth in modern 2026 and going forth in ways that couldn't have happened in the past before we had the technology. For first of all, yeah, these things to be, man, part of it's these shoes. I'm not kidding. I'm slurring my words and stuttering over what I'm saying, and I don't do that like this normally. Just to give some context, this is why we are In the Image Clothing Company. These shoes are not quite ideal by any means at all for the feet. That's what I'm talking about, okay? To give some context on the lifting up or the pointing down of the foot lever off the hinge of the ankle. Plantar flexion is pointing the lever of the foot down off the hinge of the ankle. Yikes, it's hard to speak in these boots, I'm serious. Dorsiflexion is lifting the lever of the foot up off the hinge of the ankle. And there's a neutral between these two, and what it is the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. And so the bottom of these boots aren't quite flat. They're just about flat as far as they don't have a heel. Yeah, just about. I've said that these boots are flat, and I'm not trying to convince myself of that, but they're very close to it. But they also have a curving up at the toe, which is what's called toe spring. But the feet just work flat on the horizontal surface of the earth, and then from here, we can lift the lever of the foot up off the hinge of the ankle, dorsiflexion, or we can point the lever of the foot down off the hinge of the ankle, plantar flexion. But it's always just a mathematical neutral position, the entire body, and the only way it works. Yikes, right? So, what we have is the vertical pull to gravity coming down and meshing with the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, and this makes a 90-degree angle. A right angle, a perpendicular angle, like this tree behind me, vertical with Earth's vertical gravity pull, coming down to the grass here, which is horizontal, like the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. Before you could ever go up a hill or down a hill, you have to start what we could say as neutral, or just horizontal, flat. And this is the same with the bottom of the feet. Before you could lift the foot up, dorsiflexion, or point the foot down, plantar flexion, it's got to start flat, horizontal. This is the term zero drop in any brand of shoe, which again, solid rooted understanding of context for this video. These boots are not ideal for the feet. These boots are not the term zero drop, just meaning these boots are not completely flat on the bottom, as if I weren't wearing shoes and my feet were just on the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. Okay. But this video's title on the 19th of August 2026 under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, Plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. Well, we're going to discuss this. I'm pretty sure this guy's driving past here again, so we'll wait for the audio and the microphone of the device that I am filming this video with to be less noisy than the motor in his little machine. Okay. Let's give some more context here before we really start talking about plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls, which is this video's title on the 19th of August 2026 under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here. So the bottom of the feet is only half their function with plantar flexion. We discussed the term zero drop, flat, right? In any brand of shoe. The top of the feet's the other half of the function. Dorsiflexion, that's the top of the shoe. Okay? In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique is just the only way you can weave a rope across the top of all the bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in the feet that make up all the foot structure. 27 bones in the feet, unless there's 26, because the hand has 26 and the foot has 27 bones, unless it's flipped. A fourth of the entire body's bones are in the feet, okay? And there's a neutral to all the functioning in the feet. Internal rotation, external rotation, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, pronation, supination. We've got gripped arches in the feet, meaning we've got 2 feet evenly opposing the center line of the human body, and they grip arches in the feet, meaning they grip the ground the way the hands do, like this. And then as they grip and pull the musculature from the toes to the heel in the feet arches rise, or the feet rise up and create an arch structure. We've got different length 5 toes within this universal human design that we roll evenly off the end of just to share the weight. And the toes are shaped in a way where the big toes on the inside of the feet are the longest, and the pinky toes on the outside of the feet are the shortest. So the toes kind of come up and inward toward the center line of the body like an arrow. And so we roll evenly off the ends of these 5 different length toes within this universal human design, which you can be different from, but we've got to get as close as we can to the universal human design's functioning, because we're dealing with things like gravity that's outside of all of us, physics and just motion, mechanics, and universal laws that don't change, that we don't get to decide or do anything about to try to change them to be anything different as human beings. There truly is only one way the human body could ever work. So this video's title, the 19th of August 2026, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, spoken by me, Evan Strong, the founder, and I will be leading In The Image Clothing Company for life. Plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. Ah, the sounds. Insanity is what it drives me to. Freely as well. No charge. Except with some kind of crazy crime when I just go nuts and drain the gasoline from their leaf blowers. Anyway, watch me lay on my back. We're just going to do it through the noise. Blunt, bold, raw, and real In The Image Clothing Company. What if you were here with me and we're just talking about this stuff and this happened and it just happened? And it did. Watch me lay on my back. Plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. This video's title, under In The Image Clothing Company's main site on the 19th of August, 2026. Watch my whole body go down toward my feet more when I dorsiflex, and my whole body come up toward my head more when I plantar flex. Well, it can happen here when I'm sitting down as well. Dorsiflexion, lifting my lever of my foot up off the hinge of my ankle. You know, it sure takes a lot of patience to just deal with anything and everything that could possibly come up, no matter what location I choose to film a video in under In The Image Clothing Company. It's insane. It's just once I start filming, and I'm not trying to like be all victimized about it, but I'm also not trying to convince you of anything. It just happens. It's unreal. Okay? Lifting the lever of the foot up off the hinge of the ankle, it pulls my whole body down to my feet. Closer. Pointing the lever of the foot off the hinge of the ankle, it pushes, essentially, even though muscles in the body only pull, right? Opposing muscles pull from the neutral, but the body gets pushed away from the feet, closer to the head, when we plantar flex. Okay? Plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. You know, the heels of my feet aren't moving like on the ground, they're staying in the same location, but the activation of musculature moves my body. So watch me lay on my back and the same thing will happen. The 19th of August, 2026, In The Image Clothing Company's main site here, plantar flexion pushes, dorsiflexion pulls. Watch me on my back. Ready? Plantar flexion pushes. See my whole body move? Dorsiflexion pulls. See my whole body move? Plantar flexion pushes me closer to my head. Dorsiflexion pulls me closer to my feet. Anyway, let me step away from here. I'll just finish the explanation up here like this, but there's the visual. The point is, you know, we've got heels on man-made shoes when our God-made feet only work on the horizontal surface of the God-made earth. The human body grows by itself. It's literally just earth. What we eat becomes the human being. That's how it is, what it is at all. That's what it is. Everything that's on this earth, broken down to the smallest piece it can, is called matter. They can't be created or destroyed. And so we're literally just the earth that we eat. You know, the goal is natural under all four sides of In The Image Clothing Company. So, you know, you can understand why I scream at all this unnatural noise that I have to deal with. They're taking care of the park, I get it, but it's loud for the video's sake. And it just comes up when I start filming. I'm not kidding about that. You don't gotta believe it. I don't care if you do. I'm just giving context. That's really the case. Seriously. And yeah, it's because I'm trying to do good things, bro. Stuff just comes up to try to see if you can keep on pushing through it. Heels on shoes. They put the feet in a constant state of plantar flexion while the foot lever off the hinge of the ankle. Okay. If you got a heel under your foot's heel and a man-made shoe heel under your God-made foot heel, whatever height that shoe heel is, it's pointing your foot lever down off the hinge of your ankle in plantar flexion to that same mathematical degree of whatever height the shoe heel would cause that to be just a wedge under the foot. It's just mechanics. There's only one way the human body could ever work. The feet have to start flat on the ground. So if we're in shoes, like these boots, I say they're flat, but they're slightly not flat, right? If your shoes at all are making your feet point down into plantar flexion, pointing the toes away from you, then you're actually in a state of essentially pushing, right? That's why I did the visual on the grass there, so you can see what I'm saying. I didn't plan on having to stand up. I didn't know these guys were going to start doing work over here. But plantar flexion pushes. So the thing is, when you plantar flex your feet, you're activating more of your quadriceps and more of your back. And that side of the functioning of the body. If you dorsiflex your feet, you're activating more of your hamstrings and your core muscles in the front above your hips, you know, your abdominal muscles. There's a crossing of activation through the hips That might be all I say in that, but there's the context. To understand that deeper, you know, we give the explanations under In the Image Clothing Company's main site here of the anatomy of the human body in extreme depth. But things like this we just don't know if we don't know. You can't wear heels on shoes without only being half of your body's function, and your body's in a state of pushing, in a sense. More quadricep and low back activation than hamstring and abdominal activation. You know, plantar flexion is the same thing as an anterior rotation of the pelvis or the hip structure, with the hips coming down in the front and up in the rear. It's like the foot, it's pointing down at the front part of it, and the heel's up higher than the toes. Okay, plantar flexion is anterior rotation. Plantar flexion of the ankle is anterior rotation of the hips. The hips and the feet do the same thing. The hips and the pelvis. I mean, the pelvis and the ankle joint. I'm serious. So dorsiflexion of the ankles is posterior rotation of the pelvis. Bringing the toes up higher than the heels, well, it's the same thing as bringing the front of the pelvis up higher than the rear of the pelvis, which is a posterior rotation of the pelvis, and dorsiflexion of the feet is the same thing. The body has even mathematical opposing bends from bottom to top. Truth is truth. To stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, the ankles bend backward, and then between the ankles and the hips, there's the knees. So the ankles do bend backward, and the hips bend backward, but the knees between them bend forward. And because of this, the ankles lifting up or dorsiflexing is the same as the hips posteriorly rotating. The ankles pointing down or plantar flexing is the same as the hips anteriorly rotating. So what I'm saying is plantar flexion pushes and dorsiflexion pulls. This video is titled the 19th of August 2026 under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Well, it's the truth. Meaning it only does one thing on one side of the body. There's only muscles on one side, and muscles just pull only in the human being. It's an electrical system sent from the brain. Muscles only contract to work. They can never push. It's impossible for the body to push. So that's why when I was saying plantar flexion is pushing, it's really a pull of muscles, but we're extending the hinge and lever system. The lever of the foot gets pulled away from us off the hinge of the ankle in plantar flexion. You know, we point the toes down, and it's like a pushing position. So the thing is, what's also like a pushing position is the quadriceps and the low back working together when we do something like extend the knee. You know, you extend the knee, it's kind of the same thing as plantar flexing the ankle. It's just a hinge and lever system with rotations. Mathematically measurable, it only does what it does. The human being, it grows by itself. It's just determined by the shape and length of the bones that connect directly to each other through ligaments, and they'll never possibly do anything else besides just what they've always been able to do, and that's all they ever will be able to do. The human body in its entirety, by the way. There's only one way the human body could ever work. No possible opinion to it. It's mathematical truth. You can measure it, the motion, until the bones physically hit into each other, and you'll never possibly go any farther without breaking the body permanently. So plantar flexion is pushing. Dorsiflexion is pulling, essentially. And why the visual is good, and look at this black looking bee thing. Why the visual is good is because you can actually see, as I was laying on my back there, or even just sitting on the ground with the heels of my feet on the ground and my sit bones, the ischiums, the bottom of my pelvis there on the ground as well. Yeah, as I plantar flex my ankle, it takes my body farther away from the heels of my feet on the ground. As I dorsiflex my ankle, it brings my body closer to the heels of my feet on the ground. It only does one thing, the entire body. There's only one way the human body could ever work. It's impossible to train it to do something, but there's your visual on that, how it's just one side or the other. And so the thing is, you're in a constant state of like essentially pushing. Again, even though muscles only pull, you are extending a lever away from you. Always. If you've got heels on your shoes. You're in plantar flexion of the ankle. constantly. There's always the neutral. It's the horizontal surface of the planet Earth. And so you're always in a state of existence as a human being where you're going through life in what you could call a push, meaning like going farther from yourself, starting by that plantar flexion of the ankle and foot. Okay. Anyway, there's your context. Yeah, there's only one way the human body could ever possibly physically, mechanically operate. Ever and always. Every generation of human being, every end of time, ever. It's truth. It's not my choice or my information. It's not a new breakthrough. It's just an understanding that has to be there because, you know, plantar flexion is only half of the function of the body. And you're in a state of having to pull your ankles to extend your foot lever away from you always. That's a lot of work for your body to do. You're always essentially pushing. It's still a pull at the musculature level, but yeah, you're constantly pushing away from yourself in life. Always. Within any kind of shoe that's any higher at the heel than it is at the toes. Like at all. I don't mean just like a cutout heel on a boot or like a woman's high heel type thing or whatever like that. I mean just if your shoe is at all higher in the rear than it is at the toes. It's a wedge atop the horizontal surface of the planet Earth underneath your feet to have a neutral between this plantar flexion or dorsiflexion. Dorsiflexion or plantar flexion. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Ever. I mean, like, I want to scream the wrath of God to people with that. There's no possible way to train it. It's impossible to get it to do anything different than it just can already do and always has been able to. This is what we do under In The Image Clothing Company. Our slogan is allowing the body to work. But, you know, we've got all sorts of things. Rotated seams in clothing with robot stitching clothing, collar seams in clothing. You know, look at the jaw musculature and my hairy chest. I just say that because I understand. That's funny. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. In The Image Clothing Company. Yeah, I mean, collars of tops, necklaces, anything around the neck, it's got to be centered. We've got even opposing musculature from the center line of the body. Yeah, the center line of the body, the sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, the jaw, anything else we could say, but it all meshes with Earth's vertical gravity pull. The jaw stabilizes the entire human being with musculature up to the crown of the head, down to the upper ribs, out to the edges of the shoulders. That's the musculature you can actually see here. It's going from my lower jawbone to the edges of my shoulders. Yeah, bro. There's only one way the human body could ever work. But the point is, clothing has to, at baseline, at very least, stay centered. Well, there's a center line of the body and a center to Earth's vertical gravity pull that mesh. Fit correct. Things like joints of material of clothing meshing with joints of body parts, like the seams at the edges of the shoulders, as one of the locations you can see that being the case. And then be made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, because the body's only Earth. It's natural things, matter that cannot be created or destroyed, but we take matter and we alter its state for a time. We make unnatural materials from natural materials as human beings. And they always decompose back to natural, but it just takes time. Golly. You see why I get so upset, though? It's not like I'm out here just filming some silly fun video and I just want to be able to have free of noise. But also, they had that going for like, what, 2 minutes? 3 minutes, maybe? I don't even know what they really did, and then they're done. But if I would have stopped the video, then I wouldn't have put all the rest of this context in it. What I'm saying is the magnitude of these videos under In The Image Clothing Company are, well, first of all, permanent information that apply to every body who has one, or everyone who has a body. This universal human design. There's only one way the human body could ever possibly work. But yeah, I mean, the information is just what it is. It's entirely universal. And so the point is, you know, because of the magnitude of what you're doing in life, a lot of times you have to really work harder at it. Things will come up, like I was saying, to just be like a test of perseverance or a test of endurance and that kind of stuff, where you just have to keep doing it regardless of what could come up, because They're challenges, you know, trials, and things to make you stronger, things to make you more persistent, right? Because life's gonna just throw you curveballs, if you will. Life's gonna put little blockages in your way that you can get through and get over if God needs you to, but you have to do the work to just keep trying, you know, keep staying faithful to Jesus Christ. So we are In the Image Clothing Company, by the way. In the image of Jesus Christ is how this body is designed. In the image of God. We're a clothing company just because anything we place onto the body can't alter it. The body is designed by God to work. As you can see here in this video, with the feet on the horizontal surface of the planet Earth, it always remains before you could go up a hill or go down a hill. That's the same as the feet in their neutral before you could ever dorsiflex or plantar flex. It's mechanics. It's meant to mesh together. So it's like you're always pushing everything away from you in your life, physically, truly. If you're in plantar flexion, you're literally pushing the lever of the foot away from you. And it's a pull of musculature, but, right, you're extending that lever. Anyway, but it's cool to see it on the grass like that because you can see how it affects the entire body. I just point my toes and my whole body moves away from my feet. I just pull my toes up and my whole body comes closer to my feet. It's happening if you're laying down, if you're sitting down, if you're standing up, and whatever. But then also there's only musculature on one side of the body that does that side's function, and then there's musculature that's only on the other side of the body that does that side of the body's function. The quadriceps extend the knee joint on the front of the leg, which is a pushing essentially of the foot away from you, extending the knee, like plantar flexion, or pushing the lever of the foot away from you. They do the same thing on the on the front of the leg, above the knee. Those quadricep muscles, they work with plantar flexion. The opposite side of the leg, the rear of the upper leg, the hamstring muscles pull the leg up, bend the knee more, just like dorsiflexing the ankle pulls the ankle up and bends the ankle joint more. There's only one side of the body or the other. Even just leaning left or leaning right on Earth's vertical gravity pull, there's always a neutral. So if you're constantly pointing your foot lever off the hinge of your ankle, you're pushing away from you constantly. You're essentially pushing your body like this up off the Earth's surface more than just resting with your feet flat on the ground. Dude, I mean, there's only one way the human body could ever work. Ever. Unless you did something like a surgery. Some surgical procedure to change the shape and length of your bones. Otherwise, that's all it is a hinge and lever system that hinges off the bones. It's only what it is. Ever. The human being. Forever. So we discussed the anatomy of the human body. I said, right, in such depth here under In the Image Clothing Company, there's no possible opinion or dispute to the truth of the information. We don't get to decide it under In the Image Clothing Company. Are our bodies grow by themselves? Myself, Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, my body grew by itself. God did it for me. Nothing happens unless it does. An object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon. Yeah, God. Someone's got to do it. Who's going to take credit for the body becoming what it is? The point is, you don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but if you're pointing your toes, you're pushing away from you. Right? Dude, I mean, there's only one way it happens. Functioning of the entire human being. So, plantar flexion pushes. Dorsiflexion pulls. I mean, it makes sense. You're going to just stand up onto your toes. You think of it as pushing off the ground. You're plantar flexing. But just the understanding of how this is happening through the entire body. It's not just that we're having motion only happen in the ankle joint and the lever of the foot. The whole body's there. The human body works activated as a whole. Every part of the body's there with its own individual role to play, and nothing else can do the role of anything else in the body. No compensation can happen. And so if parts of the body aren't working properly, the body's dragging around dead weight. Okay. Yeah, meaning if you can't get to your full dorsiflexion because you're constantly in partial plantar flexion, You can't pull your body to itself. You're pushing the body away from itself in plantar flexion. You need to be able to get fully dorsiflexed, or fully lifting the foot lever up off the hinge of the ankle just until the bones hit. Just like you need to fully plantar flex, or point the lever of the foot down off the hinge of the ankle until the bones hit. That's what we call the full range to the motion in the body. There's only one way it happens. The body should have all the motion that's there until the bones hit into each other. Okay, it's nothing you'll ever get to. It's been there since you were born. It'll be there until you die. But we get into this chronic patterning, like I'm saying, a chronic pattern of working. A lot of it's just that we live in a right-handed world with 85%, maybe 90% of human beings across the earth being right-handed. That's just one side of our bodies only, and there's two sides to the body. Each side has its own rotations, internal versus external rotation on the right side, internal versus external rotation on the left side. Each side has its own flexion and extension, like plantar extension, if you will, or dorsiflexion. That's really how we'd say that more properly than plantar flexion. Flexion is closing a hinge. Usually is how you'd really say that. So yeah, I mean that's how we could understand it. It's plantar extension or dorsiflexion. I mean I could title it like that. So there's an understanding in the title before you even see what the video is, but maybe I won't, but just meaning that's how we can word that. It's the same thing. Meaning it's like extension of the elbow or flexion of the elbow, extension of the knee or flexion of the knee, right? Extending something or pulling it closed. If you extend the lever of the foot off the hinge of the ankle, it's a pushing motion away from you. You're pulling muscles to extend away from you, but there's your context. Okay. Shoelaces, drawstrings, just ropes tied on or around the body. You can twist the entire body with one side over the other in a knot, in a rope. We live in a right-handed world too, right-handed knots on almost every body, literal wording. Yep. Shoelaces and drawstrings. In the Image Clothing Company shoelace technique. No opinion to it. It's just a weave of a rope on the universal human design's feet. Well, now here's the thing. Zippers, pockets, buttons, oversized clothing in itself is an imbalance. Gravity has the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. That's a big thing. Every time we lift the foot up off the ground, if we have a shoe on our foot, we're lifting the shoe up off the ground with the top of our foot. And that's dorsiflexion. So if we change the way the foot dorsiflexes, well, first of all, what's going to change that is the top of the shoe, which is the shoelacing technique. No possible opinion to it. It's physics. It's not something to sell. We don't sell in the Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique here. We can't. We show you how to do it freely. But you've got to have some context because the entire body works together, and so we've got to make sure we address all the patterning in the body in all the ways we can. Oh man, are you ready for your life to change? In the Image Clothing Company, we give a lot of free modifications in these fairly universal clothing imbalances that are shipped across the entire earth. Robots stitching clothing, and that just didn't happen in the past, or what brings things like rotated seams in clothing. When the body has its own rotations within the clothing, the body has to reside in its neutral positions, but the clothing rotates outside of the body, placed onto the body with gravity. Okay, yikes. We talk about where clothing sits very clearly here under In the Image Clothing Company, because clothing truly sits on the body with gravity, like the shoulders and the hips, top of the feet, clothing items, tops and pants and shoes. Anyway, thank you. What a video. I mean, that's a real kind of sigh. Man. Spiritually draining in a good way, if you can see what I mean. We don't have some kind of claim here with our bold statements we make. They're true. There is only one way the human body could ever work. It's impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything. Things like this. And just how we say clothing has to be on the body. You don't have to care, but it applies to you. Alright. Check out the other 3 sides of In the Image Clothing Company if you'd like to. In the Image Clothing Company Poodles, In the Image Clothing Company Podcast, with discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're on episode 216 of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast as of today's date, the 19th of August, 2026, and In the Image Clothing Company music. I'm a rapper, brother. You can probably tell by the way that I speak a lot of the time. Seriously, rhythm and poetry, spoken word, lyricism, singing, guitar playing, things like this. Music geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages. You don't have to be religious. We're all human beings, the same thing, placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. There's a universal human design, the same amount of bones and ligaments and tendons and muscles and organs and functioning, and it's all just the same. Man, woman, tall, short, skinny, fat, any age, any part of the earth, any time period to ever be, you're just a human being. Our information applies to you the exact same under In the Image Clothing Company. We got to address things if and where we do, like amputations, deformities, birth defects, major surgeries. You're healing from some injury that was pretty major and your body is just, not this universal human design. Well, what's universal still is the laws outside of all of us, motion and mechanics, physics and gravity, stuff like this. I don't have an opinion. I do have a lifelong career here, though, so hang out, brother. Stick around. The state of Utah, the United States of America, St. George, Utah specifically, the Mojave Desert. Don't believe me? Thank you. Truth is truth. Spoken or unspoken, truth is still truth. Known or unknown, truth is truth. Always. And then we can learn about it. So let's do that.